name is Rebekkah Rosado, and I am based out of Orlando, Florida right now. I wish I could be there in LA with all of you, but I'm so honored to be here. I'm going to go through and share a little bit about my heart and my business, and hopefully encourage you guys to just be the best you that you can be and kill it in your business. I'm initially from Michigan. I grew up there and I moved to Florida when I was 20. And what I wanted to be when I grew up was I wanted to be an actress and a singer. And so I started playing the piano, I did vocal lessons, I started acting a little bit, and I just loved the entertainment world and everything about it. I initially went to college in Michigan. I started off in business because I knew I wanted to do something in operating my own business. I've always wanted to own my own business as well. And then I moved to Florida and went to school for music business specifically. Initially, I wanted to be an A&R rep, so basically branding artists to create them to be the stars they are today. And that was initially my vision as well. So I went to school for that, and now I'm actually in the event planning world. I am a wedding planner and designer. I own my own company called Runway Events, and I love every part of it, even though it's not exactly what I did. I grew up with both of my parents being entrepreneurs. I never had a parent with a 9-to-5 job, so I had no idea what that was. So when I started working, I was a server. I worked in the entertainment world for a little bit, and I just loved being around creatives and people with strategy and just the business-minded aspects. And so I always knew that I wanted to start my own business. And I just fell in love with the fact that I could create and be kind of create my own narrative and be able to start my own story. And if I wanted to change something, I didn't have to ask, I could just do it. So that's kind of how I started my business, because I just fell in love with the strategy and just being able to create anything that I wanted to. When I quit my full-time job to start Runway Events, it was very, very scary. I actually had friends at the time that sat me down and said, Rebekkah, you are actually making almost as much money as you're making in your day job. What are you doing? You just need to quit and give it your 110%. I remember sitting down with my husband and saying, babe, I want to start my own business and quit my job. And I remember it being very scary because he's a barber and he was his own boss as well. And so having two people that didn't have a real paycheck was a little bit of a struggle. And so we had to really think through what that looked like. So what I ended up doing was working my butt off. I had actually 2 full-time jobs, starting my company, Runway Events, and I actually was so blessed to be able to quit my jobs after 6 months and really give everything to my business, because basically the friends that I ended up talking to at the time said some really great advice. They said the amount of time, the 80 hours a week or whatever you're spending on giving to other people's businesses, you were able to give that time to your own business. So it might be a sacrifice for a little while, but in the end, you're able to give that time to your own company to help it to continue to grow. And I tell you what, I have not looked back ever since. There has always been business. There's been ups and downs, of course, but you know, the harder you work and the more passion that you give and the energy and the excellence that you give strategically and consistently will help continue to grow your business. And that was one of the biggest things for me. I'm pretty sure that everybody that's owned a business or just gone through anything in life has had their ups and downs. There are days that they just want to cry because everything's going wrong, and days that you're killing it and you're feeling so good about yourself. So I've had those days too in my business. I remember the struggle of hiring my first employee and figuring out, oh my gosh, I have to spend all this money on one person that I'm not sure that I had. And I remember making decisions about jumping too early with some things and losing money and making investments that made me money and making investments that maybe weren't as smart. But I think strategically I was able to just really think through the positives and turn it around and make it work for what it was. So I have gone through a lot of that, and most recently I actually was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a blood cancer, about a year ago. And that has been one of my biggest downs, but also most interesting journeys, because when I was diagnosed, I was traveling all over. I remember right before I had my biopsy surgery, I actually was literally gone for almost a month because I mostly specialize in destination events. Our company is based in Orlando in New York, but I had the opportunity to travel, and I had gone to LA, San Francisco, New York, and had a wedding in Orlando pretty much all in 1 month. And I remember coming back to Florida and feeling just exhausted, and I had all this news that I wasn't sure about and I wasn't feeling good, and I ended up having the biopsy and finding out that I had cancer, and it was something that I wasn't really sure how to react to at first. And so I remember when the surgeon called me, I just said okay, and I was in my living room and I was sitting down, and then the next thing I thought about is, what do I do with my business? Like, how do I continue to not give up this baby that I worked so hard for 5 years, but also for once maybe take care of me? And so for me, that was one of the biggest ups and downs, I guess, in my career is, okay, so I face this big life challenge. What do I do, and how do I change the way that I do business, or I think, or I take care of myself to be able to make sure that I don't lose my company and I don't lose this incredible thing that I've built and worked hard for, but I also make sure that I'm spending and taking time for myself. I think with any disappointment, you really just have to sit back and think through everything and say, okay, I made a mistake, or this happened, or I'm disappointed, or I've ran into this really rough patch in life, and think through what strategies that you can do and what changes that you can make to make it work for your life, and making sure that you truly take care of yourself as well. So that's the biggest thing that I would say when it comes to ups and downs for me, is that I've just really tried to let myself be disappointed and be upset and be frustrated, but not allow it to stay in my brain for very long. I would say, if I was asked if I felt successful, that sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm like, wow, all the stuff that I've built, but I'm such a dreamer, and I look at a year, 5 years, I think about all the things that could go wrong or could happen, then I think that where I'm at is not enough or where I should be. So sometimes I do feel successful and sometimes I don't. The greatest lesson that I've learned about success is it's all about support. I would not be where I am or have the encouragement that I do without my amazing husband, Mr. Frank Rose. He is an amazing barber, as well as he has his own podcast. So his support for me has just been incredible, because you want the support of your spouse, you want the support of your team. My team is absolutely incredible as well. They love what they do, they have a passion for it, and they have been there to support me every step of the way, even with this crazy health adventure. They have stepped up and really taken over in such an incredible way. I believe my job makes the world better because I love to take stress off of people's plates. I love them to have the best day ever on the most important day of their life, their wedding day, and that is so important to me. And I feel like that part of my job does make the world better. What do I feel like I was put on this earth to do? Honestly, I'm still figuring that out. I know that I'm meant to empower people, to encourage women, I've been through a lot in my life, especially recently with my health, but also a lot of things in my childhood, and I think the biggest thing is to never give up and be encouraging to people, and especially empower women as well. I think this is a part of my dream. I also think that my dream is ever evolving. I never anticipated starting an event planning business, and that evolved to now we do floral design, we have a rental collection. I eventually want to write a book. I want to do so many things to really encourage people to share my story and let people know they're not alone. So I don't know what my full purpose is or what my full dream is, but I do know that I'm accomplishing part of it, and every step of the way is another adventure. My next goals in life is I want to eventually move out to Orlando. We love the big cities. We are thinking LA, New York, so that is kind of my next goal. We also want to make Runway global, so we want to not only move to the bigger cities with the brand, but also be able to move across the world, and that is really the big picture goal, so I'm working on a lot of steps towards that. I just launched an online course for brides, and that is something really exciting that I'm so passionate about, and also being able to take the wedding planning and my education, what I've learned, and how I can help people all across the globe through the internet, which is a really cool thing. So you can support me and follow me in my journey by following me on Instagram at Mrs. Rebekkah Rose. That's REBEKKAH, Mrs. Rebekkah Rose, as well as my company Runway Events. That's at Your Runway Event. I also have some shirts available for my battle with cancer, and you're welcome to purchase those as well through my website, RebekkahRose.com. So thank you again so much for the opportunity to be here virtually and sharing my story, and I would love to hear yours. So I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Yeah.